Episode 11. Hello, friends. It's the Short Gal Show with your host, the Short Gal, Fabiana. I'm back from a Short Gal pause, and I'm recording this on September 30th, and this is International Podcast Day. Yay! So this episode is a reflection on my first season as a podcaster. With 10 episodes under my belt, my hope is to offer my personal experience to aspiring podcasters or anyone who would like to know more about this fascinating world. When I started this podcast, I was highly influenced by a charged political climate in the United States, and I wanted to point out all the situations that had posed a challenge to me. I can list some of them: being a woman, being short, being an immigrant, being tan, having an accent, etc. To show that despite being different, your drive, commitment, great advice and lessons from others, and the willingness to work hard would be stronger than any limitation. 10 episodes later, the podcast is more a series of conversations with actionable items. I started the podcast in May of 2017, and this is my 11th episode. I didn't do an episode 0 as I wanted each episode to count. This first part of my podcasting journey has been wonderful, and I hope I will grow more in the coming seasons. I'm also super obsessed with learning from high performers, and that is an idea I hope to explore more in the future. Here are some things that I learned on 10 episodes. Number 1, I am super grateful that I started this journey with a support group such as the Podfest 2017 family and the She Podcasts group. These are groups to turn to when you have questions, and there will be hundreds of people who have gone through the same pains, and they are just a great resource. Number 2, I'm glad that I aimed high and decided to start on Adobe Audition. Even though I didn't know much about the program, I just trusted my knowledge in the Adobe suite, and I'm still learning, and I know that I messed up a couple of times, but I think I've gotten a good start, and I plan to continue learning more. This really feeds my techie side. Number 3, a good microphone and an interface are key to minimizing editing or EQing or saving your audio. My podcaster friends recommended the ATR 2100 and the Focusrite 2i2 interface, which have worked great for me and work for my needs. Working in video production, we know the importance of clean and quality audio. In this case, since you don't have all the other layers of content as we do in video production, it is even more important to have clean quality audio so that it's easy for your listeners. Number 4, I'm glad that I created a simple WordPress site for people to find me, especially since I don't have a social media presence for the Short Gal Show yet. It took a little bit of time, but it's worth it. Adding my Libsyn plugin was simple. I changed my theme. The theme is a template on WordPress, and I think now it's simple and easy to navigate. At first, I got a whatever you can find theme so that I could have my content up, but remember, you can always revamp your site. Number 5, Libsyn, my podcast hosting, has been easy to use and is very intuitive. I started with the cheapest plan and moved up to the $15 a month subscription, which suits my needs at this point. Number 6, there's no way around this. Podcasting is time consuming, certainly more time consuming than blogging. For those aspiring podcasters, make sure you have the time to research, record, and edit. I have been spending between 5 to 10 hours, sometimes more, in this process. It pretty much consumes my weekends. It's not impossible, just have a good system in place. There are companies that edit podcasts, so if you can't spare the cash, I'd suggest you do this. I also know that I spent more time cleaning up the audio than I should have, so I'll make an effort to not be as picky in the future. Number 7, thank God for Ecamm for Skype and FaceTime. It works great. I had an initial issue installing it, and one of my interviews was recorded with an external device. Otherwise, it has worked great for me for interviews done online. Number 8, I need to learn more about promotion. I don't have a social media presence for the Short Gal Show, so I've been using my personal social media to promote each episode, which is not enough to reach a larger number of listeners. I've been promoting individual shows through Twitter, using the boost option. But as you know, the results are proportional to what you spend, and I haven't made a big investment per post yet. I do have a complaint. Twitter held up a couple of my posts because they needed to review them, possibly because of the keywords that I was using. When they released the posts, the promotion didn't run in its entirety, and no one on Twitter would talk to me. Number 9. I understand that the name and the theme of the show are still very broad. I won't be found easily because of this reason. My hope is that this next stage will be more focused on appealing high performers with an unlikely background. I also hope to get more personal. Number 10, what's coming next? I have a list of topics that I want to talk about during season 2 of the Short Gal Show, and that includes social media, being childless, translations for online businesses, traveling on a dime, women in film, learning to play an instrument, making the most of your life and time, and cultures. I know it's still very broad. We'll try to shine a little light on being a high performer or striving to be one. Number 11. Some people have no clue about podcasts, and I have turned at least 10 people into podcasting. Sometimes all it takes is to have that conversation and show them their own phone to see where they can find podcasts. I know people that before I talked to them didn't know anything about it, and of course just had to do a little bit with my self-promotion. But after that, they talked to me and said, hey, I'm now listening to 5 different podcasts. Thanks for turning me into podcasting, and my husband is actually one of them. All right, well, so that was all as far as my lessons learned in podcasting. I have to say I've had such a wonderful time podcasting and plan to continue doing that. My responsibilities, my daily life gets in the way. I'm not using this podcast to promote a specific service or product. So sometimes I'll be a little bit late dropping in my podcasts, but I promise I will continue to share my message. I believe that all podcasters are messengers. And this is another plug for my friends, Chris Kremitzos and Neil Gilarte, who created this podcast documentary called The Messengers. So happy International Podcast Day for those fellow podcasters and for those listening to podcasts out there. There are more than 20,000 podcasts and so many interesting and great things out there. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'd love for you to contact me if you have any questions and you're thinking about starting your own podcast. Maybe there's something that I can help you with. So I hope that you hit me up on social media. I'm on Twitter at Fabiana Lowe. You can also email me at shortgalshow@gmail.com. This is all for today. Thank you and talk to you next time. Bye.